don't have to eat like slaves anymore because we're not slaves.
If you cannot control what you eat, then you cannot control what you feel.
Eat your largest meals in the middle of the day, not the end of the day.
What part the homeostasis plays, you're on your way to healing yourself. The homeostasis is the internal environment where your body is at its ultimate functionality for healing. Just keep in mind that everything that is happening to you is happening for you.
All right, everybody, it's good to see you this evening. I'm Dr. Fareed Zarif, and I am the nutritionist. I'm going to go over with you a few things that we missed, some of you on Saturday, so we apologize for that. We're going to just give you a little information about the digestive system, and this is just a special just for you. So please take advantage of it. This is just a really wonderful opportunity to catch up on some things. If you have any questions, of course, just leave them in the comments. I'll be looking at those, and I want to welcome everybody from Instagram. Over here, we have Holistic Mystic. I love that name. That's great. We also have the author Natasha Smith, along with the wonderful Sky Aim Productions. Hey. And we have Aryan, Erica. We have Jay the Truth, and Jay the Truth. Welcome, Eric, Erica. Welcome, and Lolo Smiles 8 is in the house. You all are welcome. Thank you so much for being here as we continue to look at where we are, some of the things that we can do, some of the things that we can be, some of the things that we can have. I want to definitely get a shout out to my brother James Norman in the house. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you're here. Yeah. So if you know anybody that missed us on Saturday, please, this is a great time to share with them now. And let's make this next moment a great moment. Okay, so I'm going to start off and go right into some of the things that we should share about the digestive system. Now, some people don't believe that we have a digestive system. They just believe that we have just a lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system does everything, including immunity and some other things. So we're going to make as much sense out of this as possible, because there is so much mis and disinformation available, and it's not really about blaming any individual. This is a system that has been going on for too long, that we are subjected to, and we depend upon, and we believe in it. And that belief has become a reality for most of us. So we want to definitely do some different things here. Just don't want to talk to you, really want you to get some of this information here. So we start off while we talk about some of the things that we're going to talk about is when you choose a way to eat. When you choose a way to eat, however you eat now, what do you call that? Whatever it is. It might be vegetarianism. It might be veganism. It might be lacto-octo-vegetarianism, fruitarian. It can be a host of things. But the idea, the most important thing is that you should choose a way to eat. Your daily lifestyle should include the reduction of health risk. That's what we're looking for, not how, what's trending, but we want to talk about those things that actually reduce because you've made a wiser choice. If you're eating foods that just come out of a gas station, that you're going to pretty much be compromising your health. So let's make sure that we make sense out of this. Why are you eating the way that you're eating? Hey, I want to say hello to Carolyn Gento. Carolyn, miss you right now. I know that Carolyn, of course, as you all know, we always do the shows together. It feels really weird when we're not. So let's go ahead and go to the reduction of health risk. We'll start off with some of the health risks. For instance, we have cardiovascular diseases. We have type 2 diabetes. We also have other things like atherosclerosis, cancer, on and on. We have just so many of these different diseases that, including obesity. These are some of the things that we want to change. Now, the more that we change these things, the better we do, the better that we have an understanding, the longer we can expect to live. The longer we expect to live, the better we feel from day to day. So it's really an important thing for us to make better choices. So let's talk about the reduction of our health risks by first talking about one of the diseases. And by the way, the categories that I'm talking about in disease would be illness, disease, infection, and it can also be death itself. That is really important if we're eating a lifestyle. According to that lifestyle, it increases the risk of these diseases. The question is, why are you eating something that will bother you, make you sick? Those things that will, I didn't mean to say bother you, I got distracted, but those things that will make you sick, give you spread disease, those things that will cause infections, and those things that can, unfortunately, be a threat to your life. Cardiovascular disease, when it comes to heart disease and stroke, there are two leading causes of death in the United States, and that's heart disease and stroke. Now, getting at least 150 minutes of exercise, about moderately, just not too hard, too fast, too much. We want to keep it moderate, which means about midway of good physical activity. And I put midway down and I'll share that with you because you do want to sweat. You do want to run out of air. You do want to get exhausted. That's a workout. Now, those of you that can't do that, or you're not at that stage, you do what you can right where you are, and you do that every day until you constantly build up the energy in order to do more. Now, you can definitely, the beautiful thing about exercising and getting your sleep and having the nutrients and in the food that you eat, the nutrition, and being in an environment that is low stress to no stress. These are things that you can do to improve what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and it can also improve your chances in reducing health risk. The number 2 disease we'll go to type 2 diabetes, diabetes mellitus 2, and metabolic syndrome also. The regular physical activity that we talked about, or the moderate physical activity, this can help to reduce or the risk of developing type 2 diabetes, and it can also reduce the risk of metabolic syndrome. Now, metabolic syndrome is some combination of too much fat around the waist, and then the high blood pressure, high density lipoprotein. Easy way to say that is HDL, or today the language is changing, HDLC. Just like the low density lipoprotein is called LDLC now. Now, the high triglycerides or high fats in the blood can make a big difference, along with high blood sugar. These are some of the things that you can reduce your risk of the diabetes, and what I just ran off to you are the different types of ailments that you get, or symptoms you get from diabetes 2. Now, people, they start to see the benefits at different levels, like the triglycerides change, high blood sugar, And you hear me talk about this a lot. Always know your numbers. No, like if we talk about sugar, you want to be between 60 and 100. You talk about cholesterol, you want to be less than 200. You talk about your A1C, you want to be about 4.7. If you're talking about blood pressure, you want to be in the area of 120/80. All of these are numbers that you can remind yourself of so that you can make better decisions. Now, we talked about infection, we talked about illnesses, and we also talked about disease. So next week, let's talk about the infectious diseases. Now, we'll go back to physical activity. These three things, well, four things. Again, physical activity, along with your nutrition, along with a low stress atmosphere, and exercise. These are things that can help you to reduce the risk of serious outcomes of infectious diseases. That includes this COVID-19 thing, the flu and pneumonia. All of those are in that category. Now, people who do little to no physical activity, they can contract what is called sarcopenia. Now, sarcopenia comes from people that don't work out. They just don't do anything. They look good naturally, and some of them take it for granted. You have many people that look fantastic, but they work on their gift. But some people actually say, I look great. I don't need to work out. Look at me. And then there are consequences. So make sure if you are thinking that you're exempt from what I'm talking about today, then take another look at it. You can get them all from other studies. You can look at some of the other the information and reports that you will get from certain universities and certain medical groups. Find out that, maybe they'll say something that I won't say. But remember, you are not exempt from being healthy, doing the things to keep yourself healthy, no matter who you are. It's a part of the price that we pay for being human. Now, people who are more active, they may be less likely to die from the flu or pneumonia. Now, the Center of Disease Control, the CDC, just a recent study just found that adults who meet the aerobic and the muscular strengthening physical activity guidelines are about half as likely to die from flu and pneumonia as adults who meet neither guideline. Now, when we talk about this, we talk about people that really want to get healthier. They want to get healthier, but they don't know how to get healthier. And by this, I mean that, getting healthier is definitely something that we can do on our own, but we need to be consistent with it, and we need to be focused with it. And this, the eating healthy and sleeping enough time, and exercise and being in a low stress community or environment, all of these things are different. They make a big difference when it comes to the way that we are affected by those particular behaviors. Now, it may not, we all have an expiration date, but that doesn't mean that we have to die prematurely. If we make these decisions to choose the food that brings us more vitality, we choose the food that gives us more nutrients and strength, that helps us to heal faster, then we are definitely taking advantage of the process of eating the food being broken down and then becoming a part of our tissues. Now, the loss of the beneficial microbiome conditioning will damage our tissues. When we eat food and we exercise and we rest and we sleep and those kinds of things, we can actually build our tissue to be stronger, that look better, that is supple, and your face is fresh, and you don't avoid getting like person. Oh, I know somebody that eating good and he getting all black. His hair is black, and he didn't get gray hair, or he has no wrinkles. Well, let's thank genetics for that, because that's what genetics is about. It sometimes will save you from an experience of maybe looking older. You look younger a longer time, but it has nothing to do with how healthy you are. You have to work for it. It's not you just get blessed with good health and you don't have to do anything. I don't know anybody like that. I know people that look like that's what they're doing, but in the truth of the situation, it is not realistic, nor is it true. The microbiota, when we get to your microbiome, is just the microbiota, when we're talking about those things concerning your microbiome, is a living, dynamic environment where the relative abundance of species may fluctuate daily, weekly, or monthly, depending on diet and medication, exercise, and a host of other environmental exposures. However, scientists are still in the early stages of understanding the microbiome's broad role in health and the extent of problems that can occur from an interruption in the normal interactions between the microbiome and its host. And that just simply means between you and the microbiome, there should be an interaction. Their normal interaction would be positive or constructive results. Now, as we continue, there's a few things that I left out just on purpose, so we can get back to those things later on. Here, let's go ahead to the therapies of the chronic illness. I'll just simply say, just an abbreviation for this, is that we develop disease early on, most of us. And those things, if we don't get examinations, this is where it's important to get an exam, visiting an urgent care center, visiting a hospital, visiting a clinic, to make sure that your numbers are normal, and making sure that your blood is, it has a profile of healthiness, making sure that your temperature is where it should be, making sure that your heart rate and brain waves, all of those things have to be checked. Some people wait way after they're 40, 50, 60 years old before they get anything, because they go through most of their lives saying, I never had to go to the hospital. I never been in the hospital. I never stayed. I never had my skin cut. I never had that to them is, for the most part, it's proud. I'm not going to say braggadocious, but it's just proud. And if you you do have these things. I understand if you're a braggart, it's one of those things that you want to tell everybody, because it is something to be proud of. However, you want to deliver it in a way that make everybody else want to do it, and not that this dude is just tripping. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's move on. Again, we're talking about some of the chronic diseases, and as I continue with this, we're going to make a change here. So when we talk about the our system, when we talk about our health, and then when we talk about how chronic health plays a part of it, it means that this is delayed. Some of the diseases that we have are delayed because it happens over time, and a doctor doesn't pick it up early. Or if you're going to these places, your clinic or your hospital, and all they're doing is taking your vitals, and that would be your blood pressure, if they take a CBC, a complete blood count, if they do these kinds of things, sometimes even then there's questions that you should know. It's like, what is this? What is BUN? What is nitrogen? What is whatever you don't understand? Remember, that's the reason that we go to school, so that we'll be servants of people that need our expertise. So this is really important. So don't get despondent about asking questions. Digestive system, when we get to some of the fast foods, the reason that I want to talk about the fast foods is because fast foods are almost depleted of, or they're absent of any fiber, very, very low in fiber. And there are statistically about 9 out of every 10 people in our populace that, and I'm talking about globally, that have digestive disorders. And digestive disorders, that means that there's constipation, diverticular disease. There are other things like irritable bowel syndrome. There are other different diseases that we can get, but we can also understand that by eating the cruciferous foods, all the different colors of vegetables and fruits, and the grains and your nuts, your legumes, all of those things can help reduce the problems that we would otherwise face, the challenges that we would otherwise face if we didn't stop and say, I got to make better food choices. Now we go to probiotics. Now, probiotics, with this, I think before I go there, I'm going to, if you have any questions about right now, go ahead and send them to me, because I'll start, entertaining some. I won't get all, but I'll entertain some of those questions. I'm going to go back over here and say, welcome everybody over here on Instagram. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to continue going through some of the things that, or explaining some of the things that we're going over today. Okay, so here we go. Let me see here. We're going to, let me take this off here. And now, when it comes to probiotics, well, let's just go through short chain fatty acids first. And they show up in your writing, or you might see them on a label as SCFA. The short chain fatty acids are released as a result of fermentation. In other words, a food has to fermentate. It has to be fermented before the release of the short chain fatty acids. This lowers the pH of the colon, which in turn determines the type of microbiota present that would survive in a acid or acidic environment. The lower the pH limits the growth of the lower pH limits the growth of some harmful bacteria like Clostridium difficile. And growing research for the short chain fatty acids explores their wide-ranging effects on health, including stimulating the immune system or the immune cell activity, and maintaining normal blood levels of glucose and cholesterol. Now, prebiotics are different, but they're different than probiotics. I'm sure you've heard probiotics before. Now, prebiotics are the foods that support increased levels of the short chain fatty acids, and they're indigestible carbohydrates and fibers such as inulin and resistant starches, gums, pectins, and the fructooligosaccharides. All of these things are indigestible, so they can also act as pectins or fibers to help regulate our bowel movement. Now, these fibers are sometimes called prebiotics because they feed our beneficial microbiota. Although there are supplements containing prebiotic fibers, there are many helpful foods naturally containing prebiotics. The highest amounts are found in the raw versions of garlic and onions, your leeks, your asparagus, Jerusalem artichokes, dandelion greens, bananas, and seaweed. Now, all of this is really, really important. So now, if you're thinking about maybe the different sea moss or Irish moss, yeah, that's in the seaweed category. So the seaweed and the Irish moss, some of the things that they have been used for preserving, like for instance, aloe vera gel, but the Irish moss, also called sea moss, this is a part of that group, the raw versions anyway, of like the garlic, the onions, the leeks, and so forth. Okay, so that helped make sense out of it. I know that a lot of people have talked about sea moss, like it was, oh, sea moss will make you stronger and all that. Now there's a thing called placebo. When you believe that to be working like it was told to you that it'll work, and it was demonstrated to you, then we don't take into consideration that's that person, but my body is different than that. Then we find out that everybody's body doesn't work the same. There is an individual biochemical individuality, and it just means that we have different labs, and food does react differently in those labs in our bodies. Okay, so let's move along now. Probiotics. I just told you what the prebiotics were. So the prebiotics are those foods that the probiotics depend on, and probiotic foods contain beneficial live microbiota that may further alters one's microbiome. So those probiotic foods, remember, would be some of the live active cultures like pickled vegetables, tempeh, kombucha tea, kimchi, miso, and sauerkraut. Now, let's get on into a little of this. We're going to saturated fat. Now, saturated fat is the fat that actually it remains solid at room temperature. And you get most of these fats from meats, butter, and dairy products. They come from mostly animals. And you have also some fruit, and I'll start with the coconut. The coconut oil would be considered a saturated fat, except it is different in that it can and does at room temperature can be partially liquid. And this just simply means that it has a lower melting point. I'm sorry, a higher melting point. It can definitely turn to a liquid quite easier. And it can be liquefied without being under or treated by heat. Okay, so in any case, we know that the liquid of vegetable oils, they remain liquid at room temperature. And the saturated fats like some lard and some butters and margarine, they don't melt at room temperature. So this is the unsaturated fats. They are actually a good source of cholesterol, and the good cholesterol, the high density lipoprotein that we talked about earlier. Now, here are some of we all know what these are. These are like some of the vats of grease that are usually grease that can be used for a long time, and that includes saturated fat, because saturated fat you can actually use for over and over again, and it has the appearance of being fresh, but it's cheaper and it lasts longer, and that's why you have people that cook with it so much. They use it so much because it helps with the bottom line, money line, and it also is what people get their crispy, crunchy desire from in eating these different fried products. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Trans fats. Now, there are two broad types of trans fats. And these trans fats, they're found in foods, naturally occurring is one, and artificial trans fats. Now, let's start with the naturally occurring trans fats. They're produced in the gut, and some animals, they're produced in the guts of some animals, and the foods from these animals. And some of the foods from animals would be milk and then other meat products. Now, they may contain small quantities of these fats also. The artificial trans fats or trans fatty acids are created in an industrial process that adds hydrogen to the liquid vegetable oils to make them more solid. So those are also called partially hydrogenated oils. Now, this is not only for the process of making that particular product, but it has so much to do with shelf life. With the trans fats are added to baked goods and canned vegetables and soups and so forth, and they add this to these foods so that they'll be able to last for a longer time on the shelf. The primary dietary source of trans fats in processed food is partially hydrogenated oils. Now you can look for them in the ingredient list on food packages, because they're all listed. And you can also look up more information about these from the United States Food and Drug Administration, that's also known as the FDA. Get more information about that. Now, I'm going to skip a few things, and we're going to stop just for a second and make sure that I'm just going to check for any questions. I must be doing pretty good because I don't see any questions there. That's good. Okay. It just makes me know that I'm covering it pretty good. Okay. Please make sure that you're sharing right now. We're not going to hold you too long. We've been on the air for 36 minutes now, and we'll let you out of here. We're going to get this done before an hour, okay? So we're almost there. So thank you again for being here. Please continue to support us by liking us and subscribing to our Dr. Fareed Zarif channel on YouTube. We'd love to hear your comments, and we'd love for you to share our program every time you know that we're coming on. And you get that again by subscribing. We'll make sure that we get the information out to you right away. Now, I'm just going to enlarge this so that we can see this better. And when we look at this is the carcinogens. These are carcinogens, and this is the International Agency of Research on Cancer, which is also called IARC, classifies substances to show whether they are suspected to cause cancer or not. So I'll start from group 1 and go all the way to group 4. Now, this is IARC, or the International Agency of Research on Cancer. This is how the foods and other substances are grouped. Now, number 1 is the worst group. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go to, I'll start with group number 4. Now, group number 4 says, as you see, now what does it mean? What does it mean? You see up here, what does it mean? You go all the way down here and it says what? The evidence suggesting a lack of carcinogenicity. Carcinogen, carcinogenicity just simply means they're capable of spreading or having a cancerous effect. And according to this group number 4, the only thing that has been even put on this group or a product is a product, and it's called caprolactam. Now, the caprolactam is used in the manufacture of synthetic fibers and was the only substance ever placed in this group, but was moved to group 3 in 2019. So let's look at group 3. So this was moved to group 3, and again, these, they get worse. So I'm counting backward, I'm counting down. And so pay attention. Group 3 is the group, and what does it mean? That the carcinogenicity not classifiable, not classifiable. So that means that inadequate evidence in humans and inadequate evidence in animals often means further research needed. So the things that need more research would be like your tea, your coffee, static and magnetic fields, fluorescent lighting, and polyethylene. So these are some of the substances that need more exploration, finding out more. Let's go to group 2B, and this is possibly carcinogenic, and this is possibly carcinogenic to humans. Carcinogenic means cancerous, possibly cancerous to humans. Now, this group is limited or no evidence in humans, limited to insufficient evidence in animals. So there hasn't been a lot of evidence there, although people have complained. There has been certain situations that may point to group 2B that includes gasoline and gasoline engine exhaust. It includes welding fumes. It includes pickled vegetables, aloe vera, whole leaf extract. All of this is impossibly cancerous. Now, also, let's balance this out. There is a certain amount of these different products that you can be or feel safe with. Is just when we overdo it as far as the ingestion of some things, including it might be a vitamin or a mineral. When you overdo it, then it can become toxic, and that's when we should understand that's the cutoff point. But we'll have to go into that later because we have to stay focused here. I'm almost finished with this. Group 2A is next, and this is probably carcinogenic. And what does that mean? It means that limited or no evidence in humans, sufficient evidence in animals. So in this case, animals like maybe Rhesus monkey, maybe some of the lab mice, they've gotten the kind of results that have been evident that this is carcinogenic to them, meaning it's cancerous to these particular lab animals, but it has not been shown to be duplicated in humans. So what are they? These are we talking about emissions from high temperature frying. We're talking about steroids, exposures from working in hairdressing. That's right. If you're a cosmetologist or a hairdresser and you're around all those chemicals, the hair is burning, you have the different cosmetics that may include some of the different phthalates or phthalates, that is, and it might be the parabens, like all of that stuff. It can, some of those things can become pathogens in our air, especially if you're in the atmosphere or in the environment of hairdressing. It should be well ventilated. It should be a way to correct that air where you don't have to wear hazmat, some kind of um, mask on. So keep that in mind. That's something else for you to look up. I know you getting your hair done, and especially if it's around a lot of those chemicals. Now, naturally getting your hair done, that most likely doesn't apply to that because you're not using all those chemicals. It's just if you're using all the chemicals where you're getting your hair pressed and you're getting your hair dyed, you're getting different other treatments for your hair and scalp, that may be the problems that or challenges that we have when we're talking about what's carcinogenic and what isn't. Now, group number one, this is the most dangerous because this is carcinogenic to humans, which means what? Cancerous to humans. Now, this means that if they're reporting this to be cancerous to humans, it doesn't mean potentially cancerous. It means that this has strong evidence with a relevant mechanism identified. Okay, so that means that by the way that they measure how much you smoke and drink alcoholic beverages and eat processed meats and the exposure to solar radiation, all of these things have been proven to cause cancer. Okay, so there you have it. I wanted you to go over this because I, for one, hear this constantly about people that say, "Oh man, I've been eating meat all my life. I ain't never got cancer." Well, that's great. I mean, that's really great, and I do mean that. I don't mean that sarcastically, but it doesn't mean that you won't. There's never an convenient time for being sick. It's never a convenient time to get, if you were living, you had 10 days left, you want all 10, right? So if you are a person that are saying that I ain't worried about it because I got Uncle Jeff. Uncle Jeff lived to be, 111, or, I'm not worried about it because grandma didn't die until she was 97. That's great for them, but it doesn't guarantee that that's going to happen for you. So I'm going to continue here so we can look at these things. I'm talking about some of the things that even if you're getting yourself together, these are some of the things that you can eat, and most likely you are eating if you're not all the way there. It takes time to go through this transition, but I want to go through this transition with you so that you'll know that when you are sharing hey, Dr. Zarif is speaking, everybody, Dr. Zarif is speaking, then you'll know that the things that I am suggesting to you work, and that you'll be proud of yourself for bringing other people in and saying, yeah, I got that from Dr. Zarif, and this works for us. Let's look at this. Now, this is not what I'm suggesting for you to eat on a long period of time. These are emergency foods, and this food, as you see, that has eggs and it has a cookie in it, and you have the peanut butter. This is what is available now, and let's see, what store does it come from? It comes from Starbucks. Now, in here, this is what is considered healthy: 460 calories, 24 grams of fat, 7 grams of the saturated fat, 40 grams of carbs, which is 5 grams of fiber. We talked about that fiber. And then the thing that I want you to pay attention to is the number of grams of sugar and the milligrams of sodium. When sugar is high, you also find that the sodium is higher. Now, 450 milligrams when you're talking about processed food isn't considered high. when you're talking about processed food. But when you're talking about the food, that homemade food, that's the best way. When I go out to eat, I love the idea of eating out, great company, beautiful environment. But I also keep in mind that these restaurants their food is based off of SOS, sugar, oil. Oils are fats, and salt or sodium. So keep that in mind. Next, we see this burger. Now, this burger is a kid's burger. Okay, and this is the kid's meal. This is pretty low in calories, meaning that the child won't overeat the calories and has a lower risk of eating too much and becoming obese or overweight. Okay, only 14 grams of fat, 6 grams of saturated fat. Now, even if you start the child out really early, 6 grams of saturated fat, remember you want to be as healthy as possible, because when you're eating this saturated fat over time, what happens is that you accumulate. Remember earlier we talked about the foods that we eat, and later on, after a while, the chronic effect. Chronic means that it is accumulated over time. So allopathic medicine specializes in chronic diseases. So a chronic disease is something that has happened over time. An acute disease is something, or acute pain is something right now. Oh, I bumped my toe. Oh, I got a scratch on my leg. Those things that's acute. But we're talking about chronic, and because it happens chronically, what happens, most people just say, oh, that ain't gonna happen to me. I eat what I want to eat. Nobody can tell me about my body. This is, you've heard the story before. This is another healthy dish that is out with these quick serve and fast food restaurants. And this is from Panda Express. It is the string bean chicken breast meal. Now, it only has 190 calories. This is pretty low. Then you have the saturated fat again. Remember, accumulative. So over time, it can continue to build. And this is something that you want to avoid, because days go by quickly, years go by quickly, and before you know it, you've taken in so much. If you took in 2 grams of fat every day, then you have like 700 and I think 20, I believe, of the fat. So 20, 30. Yeah, that might be 30. Okay. So anyway, I did my online math. I got to check it, but it's really important for you to know this, that when you are eating these foods, there should be eaten in small amounts, and they're just temporarily. They're not foods that you go to every day. Now, we go to this meal, and you see here, you got all kinds of, what is this, chicken strips. You got strawberries, you got blueberries. It looks like some blue cheese in there, lettuce, walnuts, pecans, cranberries, raisins. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So let's look at what's in it. This is from Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A calls this the market salad. 540 calories. Well, it's more because you got more stuff in there, right? So you got 31 grams of fat and 6 grams of saturated fat. There's that saturated fat again, and you're going to find that, as I said earlier, in these different meals that have partially hydrogenated oils. It is high in. There's a reasonable amount of carbs here. 5 grams of fiber is not a lot, but it has some. 26 grams of sugar. You're going to have 26 grams of sugar. Is going to be anywhere from 4 to 6 teaspoons. Depends on, how accurate the size of a teaspoon is. But that's a lot of sugar. That has a sugar in the amount of some of our effervescent drinks, our beverages, the sodas. Then Um, you have also 1,020 milligrams of sodium. That's a lot of sodium. Sodium, again, attracts what? Water to your cells. And if you have too much of it, it can cause edema or water retention. Let's go ahead and move on. Now, I'm having a ball just really showing these things to you, because as you see this, you will get a better understanding of why your choices for food are so very important. This is pizza, and this pizza is from the Pizza Hut. Now, usually you won't get a pizza this small. You see how small these slices are, and you usually get like a bigger slice. But anyway, for now, they have 100 just for a slice, 170 calories for that little slice. Now, when you go out and you get some pizza, like if you're in New York or you're in the other Chicago, New York is just a joint when you want to get pizza. I mean, these pizza, there's pizza on wheels, pizza on the corner, pizza everywhere, and they do their thing when it comes to pizza. But this is just not really accurate, because it's a larger. The slices are much larger than what we see here. Okay. Now, I'm going to go here. This is chili and baked potatoes. Chili and baked potatoes. Now, look, when we separate this, 253 calories there. The baked potato is 232 calories. The saturated fat in the baked potato most likely is the butter, 3.4 grams. And then you have 5.5 grams of saturated fat in the chili. So when you combine these numbers, they can be the kind of numbers that can be deleterious to the human body, because if you eat too much of it, you'll accumulate back to those things we're talking about: infectious diseases, we're talking about illnesses, we're talking about disease. I think I said that, but we're talking about all those things that can break down the human body. Now, I'm going to just move on here because I have less than 5 minutes left. These are some of the things that you want to avoid when you go out. You see this? Look at this right here. Look at the calories right away. 1,340 calories. Look, 24 grams of saturated fat, 2,070 milligrams of sodium. That's crazy right there. So you see, these are, look at this one, 853 calories, 66 grams of fat, of which 29 grams of fat is saturated fat, and 1.6 grams of trans fat. You got 2,522 milligrams of sodium. Now, remember earlier we saw some that we thought was a lot of sodium. That was 450 milligrams of sodium. This is 2,522. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through some of these. And let's end it with that right there. And you'll see right here, 1,810 milligrams of sodium. Very little fiber is there. So make sure you know that when you eat animal products, you're not getting sufficient fiber, because no animal product gives you fiber. It's broken down. The meat is broken down and is fiberless. So you want to definitely make sure that you're eating your kale, your lettuces, tomatoes, your squash, all of those things to help you get a better balance when it comes to your fiber. Okay. All right. So there you have it, everyone. I really appreciate you watching and looking, taking it all in. I know that it definitely is one of those things that comes to a surprise to some of us, because there's a lot of questions that may be answered right here and right now. I really appreciate all of you from watching again. James, Norman, man, miss you, man. Long time. We got to talk. Give me a call when you can. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, James. Thank you. Awesome share. Thank you all for being here. This has just been great. And I have to stick to the clock right now. It is 6:26. I'm going to check this clock. We've been actually on air right now 58 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's really beautiful. I'm going to get going. Remember, 8 a.m. Saturday PST. We're going to have another some more information for you. Please continue to pass the word. Really appreciate you being here. And a good night to Carolyn Gentle. Wish you were here. I know that you got to do your thing, but I really appreciate you coming and supporting anyway. Love to all of our families, and may our Creator continue to bless us. Take care, and I'm Dr. Zarif, the nutritionist.